Everyone, and welcome to the Retro Channel. Now, while I wait for the parts for the Atari 65XE, which I'll link to up there, I figured I may as well repair some more Commodore 64s. Surprise, surprise. So today we've got not one, not two, not even three, but four Commodore 64Cs. So enough staring at me, let's take a look at these. And we'll start with the no video, or at least that's what it promises. Hopefully we're not disappointed. So it looks like a 250466 board, I imagine. Get this stuff out of the way and we'll find out for sure. Okay. As always, Vic is socketed, and it looks like our SID is socketed. Everything else is soldered directly onto the board. Apart from that, it's actually pretty clean in here. There's not too much going on. I can see the RF shield is still attached to the bottom. So chances are no work has actually been done to this before. So I guess we should apply some power and see what it actually does. And fingers crossed, no video. I'm just going to pull the SID chip just in case, because we don't need that. All right. Let's find out. Here we go. Nothing smoking. Ah, that's really annoying. There is video, and there's the right amount of RAM and everything. I guess put the SID chip back in and see if that's what's causing the no video issue. Nope, there's plenty of video. Yeah, that's kind of boring. I guess we move on to the next one. So I promised 4 Commodore 64 repairs, and I still intend to deliver. Unfortunately, this one's not going to work out for us, but I did recently acquire another bread bin, so this is going to take the place of the repair of this one, because it turns out there's nothing really wrong with it. Well, so far from what we found. So we're going to pull apart a bread bin soon instead, but we'll finish off the 64Cs first. Moving on. This one also has the side printed keys, although it's missing a couple. And the plungers are broken. I don't know if that's, I don't think that's a crack in the case. I think that's just a pen mark or something. So anyway, let's open this one up. It's already missing a screw, I can see. And these other screws, the heads look a little bit worse for wear. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up very well. This one does not have a label, so hopefully we can give it one. This is a 250425 board in a C64C case. Which is classic Commodore, just throwing together whatever they got lying around. Okie doke. Again, only the SID is socketed. Let's just pull that out. These all seem to have 85 date codes. by the looks of it. 1685, 1785, 1385. Doesn't look like any work's been done, but the RF shield is not on, so it's possible. What is that? I think somebody's removed the little can around the Vic chip and just made a mess of it, and obviously didn't clean up afterwards either. Anyway, let's give it some power. Is that part of a spider's leg? I think there is what looks like a leg of some kind of insect or arachnid, which is just falling apart everywhere. Anyway, let's power it on and see what happens. Well, nothing's caught on fire, but good news, black screen. There is a signal coming out because the monitor's picked up a signal, but beyond that, nothing else going on. So, closer inspection. Let's just dust this out a little bit. It's got a paper shield. Interesting. Alright. So there is quite a lot of discoloration. It looks like something maybe was spilled on here. So it doesn't seem to be all flux residue, but yeah, there's some delamination going on here. Some of the solder mask is peeling away, and under the, well, where the Vic can would be, the solder mask is sort of, it's almost lumped up in a peak. So yeah, this board is quite a mess. So I think first thing to do is just clean it up. Yeah, it's filth. Alright, let's see if the dead test card will tell us anything. No flashes. In fact, the LED on the cartridge isn't even on. I know we're getting at least some power because the Vic's putting out a signal, but could be just a dirty cartridge port. Judging by the rest of this board, it wouldn't surprise me. Let's just clean that out a little. No light on the dead test. Alright, let's peek at some voltages then. Oh, first of all, let's check what's coming in. So 5 volts coming in to the switch, but then 0.7 coming out. And yeah, the power LED is showing 300, 400 millivolts, so definitely an issue with the 5 volt side of things. I can feel the VIC warming up, so I think 12 volts is okay. I guess we can have a quick look at the AC side of things. So 5 volts out of the 5 volt regulator and 11.8, a little bit low, but that's okay out of the 12 volt regulator. Well, I think that's going to be okay. I guess we'll find out soon, but we're definitely not getting the 5 volts from the power supply coming in. So it could be just dodgy power switch. I mean, there is all this crap around this side of the board here, so shouldn't be too surprised if there's crap built up inside the power switch itself. We may be able to just repair the switch itself, but we'll have to pull it off the board in order to do that. So I'll add a bit of fresh solder just to get things flowing. Okay. One switch, one dirty board. Now, these do come apart. You just need a small flathead screwdriver and just try and get it underneath these tabs to sort of pry them open. And same on the other side. And just be careful not to lose everything when you pull it out. So that sits on there. Just doesn't want to do. Oh yeah, there's some crud all over those contacts. In fact, it's actually still wet. And I don't think it's some kind of lubricant, or if it is, it's mixed with something else and just gone everywhere. So got to get them out. Whatever it is yucky. So I don't know if that's from the switch itself or if something found its way in there, but either way, yeah, it's not supposed to be like that. So all I'm going to do is just take a fiberglass pen and just clean up these contacts. The stuff is not coming off. Bit of alcohol works every time. Now we'll try the fiberglass pen. Oh yeah, that bottom contact down there is also almost black. Not quite as easy to clean out, but we'll try. Alright, reassemble. Getting this little piece lined up isn't the easiest thing in the world. There's probably a better way to do it. I think that's in. Yep, feels right. Bend those tabs back in and we should be good to go. Bent a leg. Still a quick test. Sounds good. Cool. All right. Let's give it another try. Woohoo! Boom! Just like that, we are in business. Well, that was pretty easy in the grand scheme of things. We'll put this back together for now and move on to the next one. I'm going to do a full test on all these at the end, just to make sure everything is working as it should. The keyboard, peripherals, VIC chips, SIDs, all that kind of thing. But for now, we just want to get them booting. That's the main thing to do. And then we'll come back and really test them out properly. All right, next up, this guy. Let's call it Mellow Yellow. The keys have a real tan to them, and the case ain't much better. There's a lot of cable burns in it too, by the looks of it. Anyway, for now we're interested in the hardware side of things, so let's open her up. Nice use of blue tack everywhere by somebody to keep this thing in place, obviously. Ooh. The first thing I do see here is a 6581 R4AR. I hope that works. They are probably the nicest sounding VIC, at least in the 6581s. Nicest sounding VIC, nicest sounding SID. The VIC shouldn't really sound like anything. I've been here before because I've actually removed the shield that's normally here and wrote myself a little note. Good on me. I will actually clean this up and do a better job of it later, but like I said, we're just looking at the hardware side of things at the moment, and it looks pretty good. I think I've probably dusted it out. It looks like is the RF shield still on the bottom? Maybe it's not. No. Does it work? Actually, once again, I'm going to pull the SID just in case. Alright, let's see. Black screen. Yep, black screen. Yes, means we get to fix it. Given that it looks a lot cleaner than the last one, let's just jump straight into the dead test cart and see if it works. Well, LED comes on the dead test. That's good. Black screen. Black screen. Coffee. Black screen. Nothing. So the VIC's got to be getting power because we're getting a black screen, but let's have a poke around and see what else is receiving power. So these should be okay. 5 volts there. 12 there. 5 volts there. Looks like a pretty healthy 5 volts too. And 9.5 AC over there, so voltages are checking out. But with a black screen, well, this has only got the 2 RAM chips, so that's also quite nice, because if we have to replace them, at least there's only 2 of them to look at. So power looks good here. So this could be time to break out the oscilloscope and take a closer peek around the board, but let's just pull the board out first, just to inspect it, see if there's something obvious. Well, nothing's immediately jumping out. Everything seems to have a date code of mid to late 86. So I don't know if anything's been replaced. Ooh, the underside is actually quite nice, apart from whatever's happened over here. Take a look at that in a sec. There's a bit of crud around here, but nothing too serious. Ooh, there's a bit of crap around one of the CIAs as well, the first CIA, and the keyboard connector. But this doesn't look friendly, and it's that little transistor there. Let's just clean it up. It might be okay after a reflow. Yeah. Nothing else obvious here. Right, well, let's just reflow those joints because they don't look very happy. Don't think that's really going to make a difference, but we may as well check. Yeah, black screen. Actually, before I bust out the scope, I'll play around with this multimeter. I only recently got it, but it's got frequency measurement. It's also got logic measurement as well. So let's see how it performs, because it was only really a cheapie. So pin 1 on the CPU, we're getting 985 kilohertz. And pin 39, we're getting 985. That's good. Vic, I think pin... 21, 17.72 megahertz. That seems correct. So clocks are looking good. Suppose we can check some temperatures. Vic's warm, which is normal. PLA is cool. There's logic, multiplexes and things should be cool. That RAM's cool. That RAM's cool. That's cool. Cool. CIAs are cool. Everything is looking pretty cool. Alright, cool. Bloody Windows updates. Tell you what. Piss off. Oh, shut up. Let's check the reset while we're here. So pin 40 should be reading high at 5 volts, which it is. That seems correct. Pin 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is getting 5 volts, which is good. Let's look at some logic, see how this performs. So ready pin is reading logic high. IRQ is high. Non-maskable interrupt is high. AEC should be pulsing. Yes, it's saying it's going up and down. And then we've got VCC, which is high. That's pulsing. So address line 0 is pulsing, 1 is pulsing, 2 is pulsing, 3 is pulsing, 4 is pulsing, 5 is pulsing, 6 is pulsing, 7 is pulsing, 8 is high, 9 is high, 10 is pulsing, 11 is pulsing, 12 is high, 13 is high, 19, 18, 17. So that's high, and that's high. So address line 8 and 9 are both high. Is that normal? Right, so after seeing those odd results on address line 8 and 9 with the multimeter with the logic probe, it's time to break out the oscilloscope, and straight away I can see both those address lines are stuck high. I have actually traced them around the board and marked them out, so they're obviously present on the VIC-2 on the CPU, they're present on all these ROM chips, they're also present on a couple of these logic chips and the color RAM as well. So they do run around the board quite a bit, and yeah, all of them, in all cases, they're always stuck high, which doesn't seem correct. You would expect them to be pulsing if there were activity on them. So looking up where address 8 and 9 go to, one of the main ones I found was this logic chip, which is U15, which is a 74LS139. Now this seems to be the only one that has address line 8 and 9 exclusively on it. I mean, it travels around the board in other places, but this is the only one that seems to sort of stand out in my eyes. So I started probing around. I looked up the logic table for this. Alright, so the way it works is you've got an enable pin right up the top of this chip. So pin 1 and pin 15. After that you've got 2 inputs. So there's 2 inputs on this side and 2 inputs on this side. This is where A8 and A9 are. And then after the inputs you've got 4 outputs. So depending on what the 2 inputs have will give you a different output. And yeah, it's sort of a mirror image on the other side, except it's adjusted a pin down. So if the enable pin is high, which it is at the moment, then that means the output pins will also read high. They'll all be locked at high if the enable's also high, which it appears to be. So everything's locked high on this side. Looking at the other side, so if we check the enable pin over here, so I'll check it with the other probe. So this is the yellow line, and we're getting 1.4 volts, which immediately doesn't seem correct. Just for reference, let's look at the inputs. So you can see the inputs are bouncing around, and therefore in theory the outputs should be doing a similar thing. So probing the outputs with the yellow probe, again they're all stuck high, which doesn't seem correct. Now my first thought was to pull this out and replace it. Until that is, I looked at pin 1, which has this 1.4 volts, which doesn't seem correct. And where that actually comes from is the PLA. So pin 1 on U15 is directly connected to pin 12 on the PLA at U17. So if we look at pin 12 here, there you go, we're getting that 1.36 volts, which isn't really a logic low. It's too high to be a low. So once again, it looks like the PLA is at fault, but given how tricky this was for me at least, to chase this all around the board. So starting from the VIC to the CPU, to these ROM chips, these logic chips, the color RAM, this 74 LS139. It took me a little while to work out that more than likely we've got a bad PLA. And I didn't want to jump straight in and just start desoldering chips. I mean, usually the PLA is the first thing that you look at, apart from the RAM, but given there's only 2 RAM chips here, I didn't really worry too much about them. But yeah, I didn't want to jump straight in and just start pulling chips and socketing them and swapping them out. I really wanted to do this without sort of relying on a spare board. So if this was the only board that I had, I want to be able to see if I can fix it without relying on something else to swap chips in and out of. So, and I may be right, I may be wrong, but it's looking likely that it is the PLA. So I'm going to pull that out, but I'm glad that I sort of tracked it down chasing around the board. Obviously it takes more time, but it's probably safer because you're not removing chips for no reason. So this is where we're going to start, and hopefully it will bring us the result we're looking for. Okay, so I lost the footage of desoldering and putting in the socket, but one other thing I realized I didn't really explain very well was on the LS139, so we had the input from the PLA, which is sitting on pin 1, the enable pin, is at 1.4 volts, which basically screws up all the outputs. And the final output on this side is connected to the enable pin on the other side. So if this side is all messed up, the other side is automatically going to be all messed up. So that's sort of what led us back to looking at this side of the 139, and then obviously led us back to the PLA. So now that the socket's in, we can pull this PLA out and see if it works with a fresh PLA. Yes, success. So, as usual, a faulty PLA. Shouldn't be too surprised, but as I said, I'm glad I sort of troubleshooted it rather than just pulling everything out and swapping chips in and out. It's a bit more rewarding and you'll learn a bit more along the way, so that's always good. Okay, so far we've got 3 64Cs working. One of them, yes, already did work, which was annoying, but I still haven't checked out the full diagnostics yet, so there could still be issues with those, but I will have to split it up into the next video. So we'll take a look at the remaining 64C and also check out the bread bin in the next video. But until then, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a like, dislike, comment, share it around, do whatever you want to do, and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. This could be a case of breaking out the oscilloscope and having a close. This could be a. Has anyone seen me cock and balls? There they are.